That's my Fat Albert impression. Well, what's the matter? This is G-Man. We're in the studio today, again, as normal with Cal.
Hi.
Hey, you actually turned up this time. What
Little
the
bit.
heck
Little
is
bit.
going on here? I love it. And we have our good friend, Mr. Ed Alexander, back. How you doing, Ed?
Fantastic, guys. Thanks for having me again.
I love it. It's going to be fun. So just to catch everybody up, as we normally do, how's it going, Cal?
Going great.
You know,
Yeah.
like your post kind of decompression after Sedona, Arizona.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we did Brewery Arts Center last week down in, took a little road trip down to Carson City.
That was fun.
Stopped by and visited Ed at his Saul cannabis shop.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was great too.
You know what I found
enjoyed
so
that.
far doing this podcast is people that know me or have known me for a while, but it's, I don't know, something different with the podcast. Spike and Jamie didn't know what to expect. There was a couple moments just like, whoa, okay. Just like, yeah, like that's the way that it is. This is like, we got to cut up just like we're together, nobody watching.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even think about that because I forget you've known them for such a long time. I've known Spike forever. He knows me a certain way.
I met Spike through my son. My son Chad. And so, yeah, I think they were at the same charter school, together.
Nice.
And so that's how I first met him. And so, yeah, I actually, as you know, had a little project at Lake Almanor. I was.
How was that?
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
And Emily Skyle Golden with Cordillera International Film Festival. I've been watching her growth over the last 10 years, which is amazing.
Amazing. I love
Proud
her.
of her. And it's been a while, since I've been on a film set, but she's leveled up. I tell you that. I'm super proud of hers. Everybody's real. No, it's already been announced. So I know that she said that this is a dark comedy, and it's called Tuna. And I don't want to talk anything about the script outside of it, but that's not my job. So I don't want to not be invited back because it was a lot of fun. Met some cool people in a beautiful setting, and basically camped out at Lake Almanor, which I hadn't done a little camp night, and I was by myself. But yeah, we got through it.
Did you stay? You stayed overnight?
Yeah, I had to, because
cool.
the next call was like 6:30 in the morning.
Oh my goodness!
We had to be there. So it has been the first time since I've done anything in a background. Type
You're used to being the star.
Not the star. I don't want to be the star. I just want to be. I want to be like Stifler. that's my kind of gig. As far as the movies go, I don't want to really have the pressure of the. But I've done it before. Done community theater where I was like, the main guy in and stuff like that. But
I always wanted to, but I didn't have the confidence, and I couldn't remember lines.
Yeah,
I was too much. I would end up having to ad lib.
Yeah,
but
think of it like this though, like it's mind games, right? So you say, if somebody paid me $100,000, to say, hey, you have this, 3-paragraph script here that you have to learn. Would you do it? I mean, you'd figure out a way
I
to
could do
it,
little.
right?
I couldn't do full parts.
Yeah.
Like I could do like little, 1 or 2 lines or 1 or 2 paragraphs, but like to carry out a whole character throughout a whole play, I couldn't do it.
I'm just saying you could do it. You weren't motivated to do it.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Or somebody to say, hey,
people around me, my parents,
Yeah,
people were like, "Oh, you're not good at that. You're not an actress. That's not for you."
Right.
Oh yeah. So I had so much of that.
Dang
I was very heavily conditioned.
Well, there's not too late.
No,
Not too late.
Well, I think the other thing that comes into play is a lot of times people, I think, fail to realize that this is a 15-minute at a time project. And it's like, oh, man, I can't hold this thing for the next 90 minutes. And it's like, you don't have to.
That's a good point.
We're going to do 47 takes of 3-minute snippets.
Yeah.
And then we're going to weave this thing together. And at the end of it, we've got something to be proud of.
Yeah.
Well, and now that my ADHD is relatively regulated or regulatable anyway, I recognize like when affects of it are coming through, I'd probably be better. I was so scattered as a kid with paying attention to so many other things that trying to learn and memorize lines for a stupid show.
You know what I'm casting you right now as I'm looking at you. And you better not be offended because I'm always joking around. But you know who you could like be in? Like, that series
The
that's
Wicked
going
Witch
on?
of the West?
No, I mean, you could pull that off, but.
I'll get you, my pretty.
Oh, shoot.
And your little dog, too.
I like it. No, but I was thinking, like, you know how they'll do little dreamscapes or future hops in movies and stuff like that. So right now you got that series of the girl from the Addams Family, Wednesday. So you could be a futuristic 50-year-old
Oh, that would
Wednesday.
be cool.
Tell me I'm right. She could
That would be
she
cool.
could pull off Wednesday as like a 50-year-old, you know,
Interesting.
going
Especially on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Go, and it is Wednesday.
Yeah.
So that
I don't
makes-
want to see Wednesday, menopause on a Wednesday though.
Right.
No, and I'm already through that anyway, so we don't have those
Yay!
issues.
Yay, team. So, hey, everybody that, you've heard, the voice, the familiar voice that you've heard before, Mr. Ed Alexander, what the heck is going on? It's almost like I didn't smoke anything before I came here. Maybe that's the problem.
That
I got
could
some.
be the issue.
Got some in my purse.
I'll be better. But hey, let's do this. Let's start off like this, you guys. So last week, as Kel mentioned, we were in Carson City, Nevada, and doing the first remote with
Right.
Spike and Jamie. Had a great time, and on the way we had a little nice visit with you.
Fantastic.
That was
visit.
great.
So now that day I had smoked before, so I don't remember anything we talked about. So why don't you guys catch me?
It was an important conversation.
No, so summarize. Let's go, Kel, first, and then Ed, you can wrap it up. What exactly did we talk about that kind of motivated today's show and topic?
Well, the most thing I remember was Ed giving us really good business advice about the podcast and kind of what we're trying to do. That's what it's.
Yes, I love it. I love it. So now, what about on the other hand,
Well, the
which
biggest-
is true, by the way. What, Kel? Thank you very
Well,
much.
thank you.
for
You're
giving
welcome.
us-
You're fantastic human beings, and I want to see this thing take wings and fly. So what intrigued me and brought me back into this beautiful studio in the Reno Town Mall was talking about healing and the various different facets of what healing can and potentially should look like. In my opinion, in a world absent of personal accountability, today's topic is so important because we need to be our champions and advocates because they, whoever they are, don't necessarily want us healed or well.
or even healthy,
so-
much less.
So, what I was, ladies and gentlemen, drawn to was a great dialogue. And just so you know, some of the advice, I want each of you to smash that like button. I want each of you to smash that share when Kel posts this on the various different platforms. We change the world through dynamic conversations like this. But if it's just the three of us having the conversation, then the reach isn't what it would be if each one of the 2,000 friends that Grady has and the 2,000 friends that Kel has and the 2,000 friends that I have, if we can get 10% of that 6,000 people to help us share this message, we have now impacted 600 different sets of eyes. So the bad news spreads like wildfire, guys, and this is fantastic news. So let's spread this equally. Excited.
I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you for that endorsement, Ed. Seriously. And yeah, it's been an interesting journey so far. It seems like all the guests are, for some reason, having fun and have commented to their friends, don't sleep on this. So, yeah, you never know. We'll keep being authentic and talking about things that matter and see where it goes. So coming out of that with, looking at the kind of like the physical front lines, let's open up our discussion with this in the first half hour here is like especially in today's, let's put it the way that it is, Kel, based on, again, since 1970, our physical makeup and attributes. What does healing the body mean in today's obesity epidemic? Let's just put it like that.
Oh, and there's so many facets of of what constitutes healing. If we talk physically, I mean, my God, heart disease, diabetes, kidney failure, cancer, hypertension, high blood pressure, all of those things are potential killers, and we treat them like it's whatever. I mean, they're so common, and people expect to get them. Nobody's shocked when they end up with this stuff, and it's like the fact that we just kind of fall into this funnel,
Normalize it.
and normalize that is shocking to me.
Yeah. Ed, contrast between Western medicine kind of like the symptom management, versus a holistic root cause approach?
Yeah. So, guys, I'm far from perfect as a frail human being that loves pizza. I preach that the number one medicine or poison that each of us helps or poisons ourselves with is calories. So,
Food.
so I believe that Eastern medicine starts with a healthy diet. And I tell people all the time, hey, guess what? Triage, sign me up for Western. Like, I don't want somebody doing acupuncture to sew my arm back on if a chainsaw cuts it off. But I also don't want somebody prescribing me a handful of amphetamines instead of saying, hey, fat kid, why don't you get your ass off the couch and do some exercise? Or, hey, maybe 17,000 calories isn't the right answer. And while there is a place, in my opinion, maybe as a jump starter for some of that pharmaceutical intervention, no different calorically than from a mental health standpoint. Sometimes mama's little helper helps us get beyond a rough patch in the road.
But it's not meant to be chronic. It's not meant to
No,
be
it's not
ongoing.
habitual.
There's
It's
situational.
right. It's like, hey, I'll just give you guys an example. Let's go with 2006. I went through a very, very, very ugly divorce and was struggling with some highs and lows. And a great friend of mine who happened to be my Western GP said, Ed, let's get you something to get through this. And there was a psychotrope available called Lexapro. So and because he knew me well, he's like, hey, and you can't overdo it. So being the good little junkie that I am, I was like, well, if one makes you feel numb, what
Right.
does seven
No,
make you feel?
see,
Well,
antidepressants
check
don't work
this
that way.
out.
I was on Celexa for a long time.
And so it was valuable. And then when it lost its value was when I was in a very remote part of the world and watched my prescription fall into the middle of the Rio Negro.
Oh my God. And you had to go you went off cold turkey?
In the middle of the Amazon.
Jesus. Ed.
And I would tell you this, there's very few people in this world that I've met that are as level-headed and that are as adept at dealing with it as I. I spent the better part of 7 days somewhere between a thinking that I shouldn't be here,
Mm-hmm.
thinking that everybody else shouldn't be here. I was laughing, I was crying, I said to myself, let me tell you
You're
something.
getting zaps, brain zaps?
Oh yeah. And I said, guys, never again will something have a control of me. Like, hey, here's the reality. Anybody who knows me knows that if it makes you feel good, I've been there, done that. So whether it's cocaine, heroin, pick a flavor of the week, I have overindulged, and self-detoxed off of it. Maybe with the exception of nicotine, the psychotropes were the hardest thing to come off of. And not that I want a soapbox, but when we look at what's happening consistently around the country and the world, one of the common denominators in all of this tragedy is the presence of psychotropic drugs.
So for our listening audience, Ed, why don't you give them the definition what a psychotrope is? What is it?
So a psychotrope is something that's used to alter the brain chemistry.
For example, like
SSRIs.
Class. Lexapro,
Celexa,
not Percocet,
No, I know
Prozac.
Prozac, Effexor, Zoloft, any of those.
Again, guys, I love you if you need something to give you a jump start. But I see people that 2 weeks ago were 746 pounds and today they weigh 90 pounds because they're Ozempicing or they're whatever. And so it's like, hey, if you use things in conjunction with lifestyle modification, perfect.
Yeah.
But we are it seems like our society is becoming inherently lazy.
Right.
And so it's like, I take the pill and I'm good.
Like instant gratification has become like, I don't even know how much faster we could get.
Right.
I mean, like there's no gap between desire and people expecting results.
Well, we deal, like one of the things, guys, we talked about, because I'm here to help you and I'm here to help spread the message. And you guys were like, hey, what can we do to help you? And to Kel's point, I believe we have the most unique an exceptional facility and product probably in the world from a cannabis experience standpoint. What we don't have is convenience. And so great friends of mine are like, Ed, I love you. But you know, that 4.5 minute
All the
drive
way
to
there.
Raleigh,
Yeah.
so it's like, hey, if we can't order it at noon and be salivating over it at 5 afternoon, it's like, well, you know, yesterday I was picking up pizza for my crew. Guy walks in upset. The little guy goes, buddy, you placed your order 7 minutes ago. He goes, how long is it going to take? Fuck, you getting a pizza like longer than 7 minutes.
Yeah, about 20, I would think.
But again,
Wow.
we've gotten it twisted.
The distortion in people's idea of what's
Right.
even possible.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. So that actually, let's wrap that one thought up, because we're definitely going to do a little, promoting of what you do, Ed, for sure.
Yeah.
But back to wrap up, that common over prescription, for some of these things, and so what are the side effect trade-offs, and most importantly, why do you think people do them when you're talking about, let's say, the side effects from opioids or statins, or as you mentioned, the SS?
Well, I'll just tell you, in my humblest of opinions, because everybody wants to be skinny, but nobody wants to go to the gym. And that is mental gym. That is physical gym. That is, hey, maybe I shouldn't eat this. But really, when you look at the fact that the same people that tell us what's healthy to eat are the same people that create the remedies for fixing
The chemical remedies.
Yeah, the chemical remedies for mitigating the chemical
The symptom.
damage.
Not even the root cause. They're not trying to fix anything. They're just trying to make you feel better.
Well, they're creating the toxicity within us through the endorsement or creation of chemically processed foods. Then they're coming up with a solution. Unfortunately, guys,
solution.
Not the solution. And really not even a solution.
Not really.
Band-Aid to a shotgun. And where I see the challenge, like, I'm a capitalist to the core. But guess what? When we monetize health or lack thereof in the way that we currently are, like
It's
nothing,
not even monetizing it. It's corporatizing it.
Yeah,
nothing ends well.
No. And that's the thing. I mean, people rail against capitalism, and that's not what we have. We have a corporatist system. Capitalism is a simple economic principle, not to be fought over. If you produce something that has value, you deserve to earn money for it.
Right.
You deserve to be able to make more than what it costs you to produce it.
And we're definitely going to get into big pharma and stuff like that. And call me a conspiracy theorist, but I think that most of the population.
You're a conspiracy theorist.
Maybe a conspiracy. There's nothing theoretical about it.
Well, and again, all the conspiracy theorists, the euphemism was, I think, purposefully thrown out there to discourage people from critical thinking.
Of course it was. It's a psyop.
And if you think about conspiracy, that just means basically the definition is two or more people who collude together for a common cause or purpose. And then a theory is just a unproven hypothesis. But if you even talk about, again, anything, JFK, 9/11,
all of which have been actually as conspiracies.
So again, not to get too conspiratorial, but I think that our general population has now seen what big pharma and the industry and the FDA has been up to for the last, especially older people, 30 to 50 years. And the result is, like I mentioned, you look at a photo of a beach, East Coast, West Coast, it doesn't matter, in 1973. And you look at pictures of a beast at Lake Tahoe, wherever, oh my gosh, and there's definitely an obesity issue. And to Ed's point, it's because of what we're ingesting.
Right.
So that leads to, Ed, your insights into cannabis as plant-based healing, because again, the show is what's the matter with healing. And so what have you seen cannabis do for people, for example, in chronic pain who weren't helped by traditional medications?
Well, I was talking.
I can tell you from example.
Right. I mean, I'll just tell you this. So as somebody that has, gone hard and been put away wet, there's not a lot on me that doesn't hurt. And, cannabis is what I tell people. It's like, hey, it's a neuro pathway interrupter. That is a fancy
Default mode interrupt.
That is a fancy word for saying ignorant is bliss. And unlike an opiate that's deadening the receptor for pain, cannabis just interrupts the signal. And it's like, hey, Ed, does your shoulder hurt? Well, it didn't until you asked me if it hurt, but
Right.
but now
So
it
it
does.
takes your focus
Yeah,
off of.
it's a distractant, for lack
Right,
of a
exactly.
better description. And here's the beautiful thing about cannabis, and more specifically about what we do. We talk about a full approach to health and wellness. We talk about, sure, marijuana or THC is going to give you a buzz, and it's going to interrupt the pathway. There was a beautiful, beautiful study that came out of Israel. It identified the 2 root causes of disease in the Western world. 1, chronic inflammation. 2, chronic dehydration. We don't drink enough to expel the toxins in our body, as everybody takes a sip off the sippy cups. The other thing is
Mine's
chronic
coffee.
chronic inflammation. So when our white blood cells, our immune system, is being constantly dispatched to deal with inflammation, it's not dealing with the progression of heart disease. It's not dealing with the things that it was designed to deal with. So, cannabis, in my opinion, is one of the most benign of the inebriants.
Yes,
We,
no doubt.
we,
question.
we seek escape. So if you're going to seek escape and it's a bottle of Merlot, you're going to have some unintended consequences, potentially. Cannabis, you can find the same escape with fewer unintended consequences. With that being said, even though cannabis is a generally considered safe product, I would just say that, hey guys, if it feels like a problem, it probably is a problem. If 2 seconds after your head lifts off the pillow, you're reaching for the water pipe and you can't walk through a day without it, let's figure out, what are we
What are you
running,
running
from? So, again, guy, I mean, I just think that, like, hey, guess what? Lots of things are healthy. I would say that if everybody was as mindful about what they put in their mouths calorically as we are the posts that are going on TikTok or whatever else is occupying our time, we wouldn't have a health and wellness problem in this country, because the vessel that we have, this meat sack, will repair itself if given the proper tools. And that, unfortunately, means healthy food options. And those are sometimes
hard.
inaccessible.
That's hard.
I
It is.
think about it more. I've made some adjustments, but we can all improve. So let me ask you this, Ed. Of course, we have a nice breadth of life under our belt so far, and we've seen it come from, again, we spoke a few weeks ago in reference to the war on drugs, that Nixon started, even though his, Warren, or not Warren Commission, Schaefer Commission came out and said that it should be legalized, and they see no significant negative impact on society. So in all that time, and again, I really didn't get into it until I started having back injuries, and I used it, to manage inflammation and, interrupter. I use my interrupter component for people. So, but question: how do you answer skeptics nowadays who think the natural healing of cannabis is still kind of like a ooh and not evidence based, type of stuff?
I'm going to jump
Yeah.
right before Ed does. Here's the thing. Our body does not have an alcohol cannabinoid system. We do have an endocannabinoid system. So our bodies are built to utilize this substance.
Right.
I mean, specifically to
For
interpret
thousands and thousands of years.
Well, the evolution
Yeah.
of the meat sack has been that this is a component. Most people, well, lots of people consider us from an evolutionary standpoint as taking the proverbial leap once the amount of protein that we ingested eclipsed the amount of roughage that we were ingesting. And that protein, or more specifically, those fatty acids, is what led to the evolution of the frontal lobe. As part of that, to Kel's point, the meat sack has evolved to include the endocannabinoid system, which is designed to receive it. But, Grady, to your question, we are referred by lots of oncologists, and it's less about the plant and more about the facility.
When you say we, you're talking about soul. Yes.
Yeah. So here's the reality, guys, is that we are the most medicinally minded facility probably in the state, and I maybe could argue West Coast or country.
Yeah.
Only 2 organically grown in the state still, right?
Yep. Yep. And
only privately owned.
Yep.
All right.
And last privately owned. And to that end, in medical school, there's 3 pages that talk about cannabis. There's maybe twice that.
Only 3.
Only 3. There's maybe twice that speaks to caloric ingestion.
And they still don't know a lot about cholesterol. There's a lot of like unknown frontier. There's assumptions, that are based on concluding data.
But again, guys, we got to look, and I tend to be a little conspiracy oriented like you.
Mm-hmm.
Who authored the paper?
Who paid for it? Who wrote it?
Because to your
Who
point
did the
about
research?
Nixon, we're talking about the most studied plant on the globe. And unfortunately, every time we study it, it comes back with nothing negative to see here.
They don't like that.
That doesn't meet with the prevailing talk track. Because here, I'll just tell you something real quick. Or as quick as I tell you anything. I had a great friend of mine years ago who was in charge of San Diego Sheriff's Department. Well, I said, Bud, what's the deal with shaking us down? And he kept it real with me. He goes, Ed, my budget's $1 million, give or take. Cost me $5 million to operate. He goes, the balance of that is made up through asset forfeiture.
Oh, yeah.
So when you come down out of the mountains in Northern California in your brand new Escalade with 50 pounds of weed coming to LA, and I pull you over for driving 7 miles an hour on the freeway, you're going to have 2 choices: incarceration or forfeiture.
Same result either way.
100%. You're going to, and then we're going to auction off your stuff, and you're going to go back up to the hills, grow some more weed, come back, wash, rinse, and repeat. So in all aspects, this is an economic proposition.
Everything the government does is an economic proposition.
I mean, and to a crazy fault when we start talking about this. You think about this: for-profit prisons,
right?
For-profit rehabs, for-profit healthcare. So at the end of the day, it's like, hey, we want you incarcerated for ticky-tack because somebody's getting paid. Oh, we need more. If I need more customers, I'm out getting a billboard. I'm shaking hands. I'm kissing babies. You guys are down here grinding for more listeners. That they just go, pull that guy over. He looks suspicious, and we got 3 vacancies that we need to fill. And it's broken.
I was raised with law enforcement. People ask me why I didn't do it, and it's like there's some good people, that do it, but basically, to your point, it's like a big extortion racket,
Well, and again, to be clear, I stroke huge checks to all aspects of local law enforcement.
Right.
There is not a bigger supporter of the blue.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's not like I'm not
backdoor.
anti-cop or anything, but it's just like
It's the system.
We want you guys to go find murderers like you've been doing this last week. Fantastic job, by the way. And again, like Kel and I were in Carson City when we found out about this. All I got that, he was shot in the neck. And, so we, I don't know how you feel about it, but the video was quite gruesome. And, I'm of the feeling, again, whether you support him or not, this is no place, for killing another human being for something they say or something they believe.
Right.
He didn't do anything wrong against another human being.
It's just the fear of his influence.
Well, I think, Greg, because I don't want to let this die quite yet.
Okay.
I will tell you this. This young man was out trying to have dialogue.
Right.
Protecting our Second Amendment.
Both,
First
yeah.
and second, because we've taken some quotes out of context. Hey, if a couple people have to go as a result of our ability to possess weapons, so be it.
Yeah, and first religion, of course, is in the First Amendment along with speech, press. He was doing it all as far as those first couple.
And if you, in my opinion, if you look at why this ended the way that it did, it had nothing to do with what he was saying. It had to do with the way that our propaganda machine is weaponizing words and the algorithm. Unfortunately, hey, this podcast lives on a platform. That platform isn't a neutral platform. That platform is targeting us like Pharma targets our dopamine receptors. It's targeting us to hear and see what we want. you know, I do an interesting thing once in a while, and I split screen between Fox and some of the other channels.
I do it all the time.
And I look and I go, hey, it's Wednesday and the sky is blue. And then I look at the other deal and it's like, well, it might be Thursday afternoon and the sky is probably red. And it's like, guys, what are we talking about here? We're talking the same issue and you want to spin it. And neither side is not guilty of it. And so when you look at that targeted messaging that's happening to all of us, whether you're a right-hand guy, a left-hand guy, or right down the middle guy, we are being fed a line of weaponized propaganda. And that's what we need to resist.
Yeah.
We need critical thinking.
Yeah.
And we need to say, hey, guess what? At the end of the day, I don't want, you know, it's shitty that the most accurate thing on the news right now is the weather that's rarely accurate. Right.
Yeah, they're doing better though. So as normal, I'm going to find our normal exit ramp on that. But I appreciate that. Once again, we're on the same page. You know that if there's ever a difference of opinion that you have with somebody, violence is not the way that this country wants to go at this point, as far as like us moving forward as a species. So let's see. What is that thing that I was just? Oh yeah, what does that mean, Kel? It is time. It is time for some laughing crickets. So let me get everything set up here. Make sure that I have my cricket sound effect. Yep, that's up there. Turn it a little bit. No. So we have something that I've done, Kel. I told you that I wanted to do some extra credit.
Yeah.
So Ed, we first started this laughing crickets thing out, and we wanted to see how funny AI was.
Sure.
Right. And so I get, basically you get AI to tell some jokes, and I have to say, what do you think, Cal? I think that like in the most part, it was kind of in general, kind of disappointing in the beginning, as far as
there's
like,
been a couple of like cute ones, but for the most part, they're pretty corny.
Yeah. And so what I did this time, instead of it being AI, is I did find some jokes, Ed.
Okay.
But what I did is I used AI to actually, instead of me telling them, because like last week, Jamie and Spike were cruel.
They were tough.
They were just sitting there. I mean, even if something was kind of funny, they were just like determined that they, I think they like crickets, to tell you the truth.
Or they despise AI.
Maybe.
But what I did is I put together some jokes that I found, and the jokes are centered on yoga, because, something good for the body and something good for the mind.
Right.
We talked about it a little bit. You may want to, have a little bit of, CBD, THC, type of thing, kind of get that, that interrupter going on there. And as far as the soul, I wanted to have something as far as like actual healing culture, which all of it kind of encompasses.
Yeah.
But Kel, what I did is we're going to see how this works out. All I have to do now is, instead of telling the joke, I have to push a button. Isn't that cool?
Cool.
All right. So you guys, I think one of these has Satan in it too. I can't tell if it's the first one or not. So let's go. This is joke number 1. Laughing crickets.
I heard that yoga class was a great place to meet women, so I went every day for 3 months. The bad news is I didn't meet a girl, but the good news is I can now give myself a blowjob.
We did it. Wait, where's the?
Okay.
I got it. Was that a good one?
I mean, it
worked. It made Kelly laugh.
It was ironic.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
Autoflation.
Okay. So 1-0. So let me see.
An American, an Indian, and a Russian got stuck in hell, and all pled to the devil that they don't belong there. The devil was bored, so he made them an offer.
I was struck you 3 times with my beneficial eyes. I let you go. You can use anything you want as a shield.
The American goes first. He builds a high-tech shield from depleted uranium and composites, and hides behind it. The devil strikes once, the shield cracks. Twice, the shield falls apart. Thrice, the American is no more. Next goes the Indian. He puts himself in some advanced yoga position and goes into deep hibernation. The devil strikes once. Nothing. Twice, the Indian shivers a bit. Thrice, the Indian grunts, but lives. The devil is amazed and tells him he's free to go. The Indian asks,
"May I stay and watch?" I asked because in all the jokes I've heard about Russians, they always somehow come out on top. I want to see how he will do it this time.
The devil nods and turns to the Russian.
Let me hands
The Russian looks at Satan and responds,
Supreme Leader, I will of course be using this Indian.
I couldn't understand what the Satan character was saying.
His voice.
Yeah, I didn't quite get
Go one from quick.
All right, let's do a riddle then. I'll do this one. So back to yoga. What is a pirate's favorite yoga pose?
I don't know. I don't know enough about yoga.
A plank.
Is that a yoga pose?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. The only yoga term I know is downward dog.
Downward dog.
I can't stand yoga.
You know how we're not.
I do Tai Chi.
Oh, I know. I want to do that too. This like a more.
I
of a
fall
subtle,
over
more of
whenever
a
I try to do
subtle
yoga. I
movement.
fall.
More of a subtle movement.
Yeah, yeah.
I like it.
A little more rhythmic.
So we're talking about a lot of stuff today. Talking about legal cannabis, and of course, trying to stay away from every little taboo things. But every once in a while, we go in there. But I think that by legalizing weed and same-sex marriage before that, we're obviously progressing. What do you think, Ed? Progressing, for sure, but we're also finally able.
My question is, what the fuck takes so long? Why do people take so goddamn long to like accept things?
I don't know.
Things that are. I mean, it's not like things that might be. Things exist.
I don't know.
And people rail against them that have nothing to do with them.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Who cares if somebody else is gay and you're not?
I know.
How does that threaten you?
I agree.
I've never understood those reactions of people.
Well, here's insight. I spent last weekend at a event in Carson City called Sasabration. And what I will say is we oftentimes fear what we don't understand. We right, wrong, or otherwise, are the product of a Protestant origin story in this country, and
which is all complete lies.
Again, if you take too much of the book or the Kool-Aid to the head, sometimes our ability to free think, and like I tell people all the time, hey, just because it's not for me doesn't mean it's not for you.
Or float your boat.
There is a difference between, let's call legal marijuana or legal same-sex marriage and forced cannabis consumption or forced. Say it's not like we go, hey, it's legal now. Everybody
has to do it.
You're going to get some. The only drug dealer that gets to force you to take things is Pharma.
So I have to remind you guys. So right now we're in the laughing cricket section.
Oh, I thought we were in the serious.
No. I told two jokes, and so that was actually I was setting up a joke.
Okay.
We're pouncing on it. We're fuck, this is serious
about this.
And this is no laughing matter.
I'm saying though, because I've read the Bible back in the day, so, but my
I
point
never
was that here we go again. I want to get this joke out because it's like, I want to see, like, you're probably not even going to be in the mood for laughing now because you guys are in a bad mood. But by legalizing weed and same-sex marriage, we are obviously progressing. That's where we were at, right? So we all agree on that. But we're also finally able to interpret the Bible correctly. And what I mean by that is it says in Leviticus
That guy.
chapter 20, verse 13, that a man who lays with another man should be stoned. Yeah, tough crowd.
Okay.
Tough crowd.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, I'm going to even throw in the kids laughing on that.
That was good.
That was cute.
That was. I like it.
And so there was another thing that I was thinking of, Cal, and that's, have you ever tried to like quit? I tried to quit. I do,
tolerance breaks.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like it. Tolerance breaks, making sure that I'm in.
I had
control.
to, like by accident. Well, not by accident, but I moved to Florida for 4 months from December of 2023 to April of 2024, and it took me 3 months. I got my card like right before I left, right before I moved. So I was cold turkey.
It's actually
for
good
4
to
months.
kind of clear out because you kind of start. You
I couldn't
dream
sleep.
more. You dream more.
I didn't. I thought I would. See, that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
I was hoping that my
Seems
dreams
like
would.
you do.
I haven't remembered my dreams in almost 30 years, and I've always attributed it to the fact that I smoke to go to sleep. But I've been told that it may impair it a little bit, but it shouldn't shut it off completely. I am completely shut off. I never remember my dreams.
Well, I
Pisses me
would
off.
visit Ed Moore. And I would, I try to keep it natural. With the natural flower, for sure. But I love, to smoke the natural flower. But I need to quit, because it makes me constipated.
Does it?
You know, every day I wake up and I think that I better either shit or get off the pot.
Oh my goodness.
There you go.
She's Kelly is getting these today. Oh, Ed's over there
Like
saying,
'em.
I don't know about this guy. Do you ever get Ed, have you ever got pulled over and busted in the streets by being in possession of it? Like,
Oh, yes-ish.
okay.
So
Is this a long time ago or?
this is like 2017.
Oh, not too long ago.
You know, we have had the ability to possess as medical patients since 2001.
Mm-hmm.
And this was just the greatest moment of all time. So I live out in Spanish Springs. I'm driving down the road and I happen to be in my daughter's little grocery getter, kind of beat her. And it didn't have the brightest brake lights. So there's a guy just hauling butt up on me. So I give him a little brake check. Turns out Officer
Oops.
Bob
Oops.
pulls me over, says, I'm going to give you one opportunity to do the right thing and tell me how much marijuana is in the car. And I said, under an ounce. And he goes, may I see it? So I produce it. I said, now, before we get any farther, yesterday I was up at Parr Boulevard educating the sheriff's department as to the legal aspect of possession. And he goes, we don't have that. I said, I'm telling you, you do. Long story short, I spent 45 minutes on the side of the road with a pair of matching handcuffs waiting, or matching bracelets, waiting for his sergeant to arrive.
Yeah.
Who promptly says, hey, Ed, what are you doing here? I said, this guy, fresh out of the academy, again, no hate, nothing but love.
It happens.
I said he didn't realize that we actually had a program in this state and that, I'm legal to possess this. I'm clearly not inebriated. And so watching this officer cringe as he said, I never thought I'd be giving somebody back a bag of weed. Letting them
Our
go.
trip. So
And how
power
conditioned
control.
he's been against it. How conditioned, like that,
That is
reefer
that
madness
is the
crap
enemy.
that a lot of them still think.
Well, and here's, as a relative of law enforcement, I would ask the question, Grady, like you have before, and most officer would say, hey, we prefer cannabis related criminals because they apologize the entire time that they're being
right.
arrested.
Yeah,
That they're not
right.
running.
They're more.
Yeah,
all
like,
the- all the-
hey,
which is true.
We screwed up, hey, and so again, yeah, I mean,
There's that cerebral part, because again, why would you want to tag on an extra charge for evading or
Right.
resisting arrest?
Right.
That just doesn't make any sense at all. My story, Kel, was based on one time it was St. Patrick's Day, and I won't mention where I was at, but
Shenanigans.
yeah, hey, basically, cop,
Filthy McNasty.
yeah, it's something, and kind of, starts, violating my Fourth Amendment, and check and says, so pulls a bag of chronic, out of my pocket. And then he's like, oh, what is this? And I was just like, hey, sir, it's St. Patrick's Day. And I truly believe in leprechaun. And I have this leprechaun that is just, they're all scallywags and stuff like that. But every time that I try to quit smoking this and I flush it down the toilet, he puts it right back in my pocket. And the guy's just like, BS. And I was, try me, man. There's a bathroom right here. Let's go in here and I'll show you how it works. So I go in there and I flush it down the toilet, and he looks in my pocket and says, hey, where's that bag of weed? And I'm like, man, that's really strange. That's never happened before. That was another crickets right there. But dang it. I'm like, what am I today? 1
2
and
for 2.
3? 2 for 2?
We'll give you the benefit of the doubt and say that we're ready for the heartfelt discussion that we all got together for.
Your mic is down.
That's right. I got one more pad. You don't want to hear the other pad to get it over with?
You can. I just think that we've got.
Actually, it's actually we do, but it's actually a study.
Okay.
Last one. This is the last one. Okay. So let me push this. Let's see how it goes. That's the wrong one. Here it is.
While enduring a train ride and in a train compartment, a young couple and an elderly, very ragged man were sitting. The girl looks like she's having some discomfort, so her boyfriend asks her,
What's the matter, honey?
She replies,
My head hurts.
Her boyfriend gently and tenderly kisses her forehead and asks her,
Is it better now?
Yes.
Does it hurt anywhere else?
Here?
She replies, pointing to her lips. So the boyfriend kisses her lips.
Is it better now?
Much better.
Anywhere else?
She replies by pointing to her neck. So the boyfriend kisses her neck. Annoyed at the pitiful public display, the elderly man stands up and asks the young man,
Excuse me, do you do hemorrhoids? I've looked at your lab reports and I'm afraid I have some bad news.
Don't give me this lab nonsense. I believe in homeopathic medicine, faith-based approaches and healing crystals. All my life, they have never failed me. Now, will you do things my way, or do I need to see the manager?
Sure, we'll do things your way. No need to raise your temper. Why don't we try an astrology-based approach?
At last, a sensible approach.
So, what's your star sign?
Cancer.
Well, what a fucking coincidence.
Okay. From now on, only 2 more jokes. I lost both these guys. Hopefully, if the audience, those, we missed, the punchline about hemorrhoids. Everybody laughs at hemorrhoids.
Except for the guy sitting on them.
Well, yeah. I mean, let's talk about healing.
I've had a
in
lot of
that
surgery.
situation.
Let me tell you what, I've had a lot of surgery in my life. I had a hemorrhoidectomy. Oh my God. That was the most painful thing ever. And the recovery was miserable. I got down to 95 pounds.
That sounds like next level.
Yeah. That was really rough.
All right.
I mean, my intestines have collapsed 3 times, and I've had 12 inches of intestine removed each time, and that wasn't nearly as painful as this.
Yeah. So we hit on the body in that first segment. So let's move to the mind, and more specifically, mental health.
Sure.
And the meaning of that. How can we increase our public dialogue around mental health? Obviously, as we touched on this last week, it's first and foremost. But the bottom line is, no matter who doesn't act like that, whether it's what happened last week in a school, randomly in New York City, at a politician's front door. That's all this stuff has happened in the last few years. And so there's something wrong with the thought process of these individuals. And so how can we, again, increase the public dialogue about mental health? Because we used to have facilities. Now we don't have facilities. And they're on the streets. They're doing, hurting people.
Sure.
So there used to be a proverbial place for them. So comment on that.
Well, here's what I'm going to say. And again, guys, I'm going to preface this by saying that in order to preserve my own mental health, I don't spend a whole lot of time looking at what's going on. Some of the things, the school shootings and Charlie and things of that nature, I'm aware of.
I'm so out of touch, I didn't even know who Charlie Kirk was.
Well, you don't even have a
never heard of
TV.
the man.
I didn't really either. I've learned out more about him this last week. And at the end of the day, like we were talking about, it's just like the dude didn't do nothing wrong. He's just out like living and,
So what I will profess is that in my experience, the folks that we typically construe as mentally ill aren't the ones that are perpetrating these heinous acts. These may be people that are overly medicated and gulping the algorithm Kool-Aid and almost being subversive.
There's very specific programming that happens through this.
So if we look at it and say, hey, if you take the blue pill and it makes you easily manipulatable, or not, maybe wrong description. If something resonates with you and you are already in a maybe compromised state as a result of, like I shared with you guys earlier, today wasn't the greatest day in the world for me, but it's not such a bad day that I go, I want to numb myself with something that alters the brain chemistry. I think that there was great places for long-term managed care of folks that truly needed long-term managed care. But when we sold our collective souls to Pharma, it feels like we're manufacturing isms, like, oh shit, you're having a rough day, you need this pill. And I guys, I don't want this to sound like the 3 of us are the old people in the room. We rubbed some dirt on it.
Yeah.
10, 15, 20 years ago.
And this is this is a Gen X thing. This is actually, it's coming out. It really is. It's emerging as like a very isolated thing with pretty much within Gen X. There are Zers out on the reels, like talking to, like bagging on us for how tough we are. I'm
Yeah.
like, kids, when the shit hits the fan, we're going to walk right past you and we're just going to wave and go, good luck.
Well, and again, to that point, it's today, you know, if 15 years ago you didn't like the person that you were, the body that you lived in, you went out and you did something about it.
Right.
Today, sometimes reinvention is easier and quicker. To Kel's earlier point about instant gratification, like, hey, I'm going to reinvent the person that I am instead of working on the person that I am. And that just like, hey, at some point you're still carrying the same shitty suitcase full of bags.
That can be planting what I call planting flowers over the weeds.
Yeah.
If you don't deal with the underlying issues, this new character is just going to be it's just going to be another costume.
Right.
Well, and it's like
you can reinvent yourself, but you have to have cleared all the other crap first before you step into that.
It comes down to two, where this individual may or may not be getting their information from. And what I mean by that is, so what you're talking about is like, let's say the younger generation are not as equipped to deal with frustration, disappointment, being told no, and these different things that we had to kind of, to your point, Ed, have a stiffer upper lip, and we had to kind of get on with it, move on. So one of the things that I was taught and I passed on to my kids is that, hey, if something happens in life where we're experiencing some of those things, disappointment, frustration, not getting what you want, all these different things.
The character building things.
Well, yeah. And so you have a little pity party. That's a natural human emotion, right? Different things that happen to us, you have your little pity party, but eventually, again, just like it's in the old Disney movie, Bambi, you must get up, type of thing. And so it's like all you have to do, and I swear I taught this to my kids, to get yourself out of it is just go somewhere, drive around and start noticing. You'll notice somebody else that has it worse off than you in minutes, if hours, if not minutes. It's not that hard to find somebody that has it worse off to you, that you can actually appreciate what it is that you do have.
Your worst day is somebody else's aspiration.
Right.
Yes, exactly. So.
But again, we two of the three have done somewhere between a great job and a shitty job of raising kids. And what I'll tell you is that, when I look back, one of the things that the two things that I'm most proud of are my two children. The two things that I'm also the most regretful of is the way that I removed the pebbles from the path, because I wanted my kids to fast forward past all of the bumps in the road that I had experienced. And what I found was that they needed those bumps in the road to make them tenacious.
Right? Exactly.
And if we don't have tenacity and we don't have, stick-to-itiveness and persistence. Yeah, thank you. You could tell I was going
my
to
mother
the Rolodexes.
You have no stick-to-itiveness.
And so when we eliminate that, what we get is, hey, I don't want to go to the gym for 30 days to be skinny. I just want to identify as skinny. And we've gotten to a point in society where, in my humblest of opinions, we can't have dialogue about things that may not be correct for fear of, right. It's like, I learned on Saturday about fat shaming. And I was like, what are you talking about? They're like, oh, you can't talk to somebody about obesity. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
This person's not healthy. And they're like, Ed, you can't do that. Wait a minute. I'm trying to provide options. If they choose to internalize that as me picking on them, then that's...
They really have a problem. Yeah, they should take that as...
And again, some of it is, I really try to reflect on the flawed human that I am. And a lot of times in my younger years, and sometimes daily, I, at the expense of others, fill the void of insecurity in my life with humor or laughter or something at the expense of others.
Yeah. You're just making me think of, like, you can't say obesity, right? So there was actually a post I saw the other day. The young lady that posted it was a, plus size, looked like she, could lose a few pounds, let's put it that way. And you know what her comment was, Ed? The word obesity is the N word for fat people. And the best response was this guy that got right back on, and he says, "Bigger, please."
That's
See?
good.
Now that's a good
That's
joke.
good.
That's a good joke. And I didn't
I
have
like
my
that
thing
one.
queued up. No.
That's ridiculous. That's such a fallacious argument because
Yeah.
you can control obesity. Now, of course, not in every single case. There are people who have whatever, but for the most part, you have control over your
Well,
body
back
size.
in the day too, Ed, I mean,
You do
let's
not
say,
have control
let's
over
say
your skin
you're-
color.
Let's say if you're a chubby kid, right, back in the day, and if we called him fatso, or whatever,
I was
you know what I mean?
I weighed 265. I was
Then
bullied on.
if the kid got fed up with being made fun of, then he would get to work on it. That's the way that things used to work, right? Or if you were getting bullied on, right?
Yeah.
Karate Kid, you'd
Right.
learn how
Yeah.
to take karate
Yeah.
classes. It ain't going to happen again, one of these days. And so speak on that.
But yeah, so here's the thing. So I was known as Bones until my freshman year. I was skinny. I'm talking rail skinny.
Wow.
And the difference is I would come home upset. Mom would say, "What do you want me to do about it?" And I would, I don't know, console me. Today, there would be a PTA meeting about the bullying and I'm not I'm not for 1 second condoning picking on other people.
No, it's how it's being dealt with.
But and the fact that it's not being dealt with. And here's something, guys, that we need to be mindful of. Kel, was a big girl. Were you a big girl from birth?
Pretty much. I was normal sized until I hit about 7, and that's when it started to pile on. It was the way my mother fed me.
And so I'm so grateful that you said that. So let me tell you something that I see every day. I see people in the store who undoubtedly have spent the majority of their life as the proverbial butt of other people's jokes. But when I look in their shopping cart, they are perpetuating that cycle through the choices that they are knowingly giving their kids. I have a great friend of mine who is as a woman of 2 children. She's like, the kids are getting bigger, and I said, "Hey, when's the last time they went down to the store and shopped for themselves?" She's like, "That well, they don't do that." I go, "Okay, so they're getting bigger as a result of what you're bringing into the house."
Good point.
We don't have that responsibility component of, and it's like, well, I can't even comprehend what life would be like as a different outlier in a world where everything is hyper sensationalized on all of these different platforms. Like, fuck, you want to know why kids have zero self-esteem? Heaven forbid you don't fit the social norm. Now you got 75 million people, gang tackling you online and
you'll get people who wouldn't normally attack you that get caught up in that momentum. I found myself in that position.
Right. You're like,
and I'm like, what am I doing?
Right.
Or it's one time, like your friend posts something and you comment on it to her or him, and then some random stranger, some troll
attacks you.
just like, "I don't even know you, bro."
Right.
If they don't have a problem with my comment, or if they did, they'd let me know. You know what I mean? So
this was actually,
it's just amazing.
Well, here's what I'll tell you. Or here's my truth.
They actually get self-worth from doing that, I would imagine. Yeah. Little pee-pee.
Yeah.
What I will tell you is this. Let's, I don't have my media up. Let's just pretend that Ed is in excess of 2,500 friends.
Mm-hmm.
Ed probably would wrap his arms around or have dinner with 50. So at some point, likes, friends, fill in the blank became a dick measuring tool for male and female. So now we have people that we wouldn't ordinarily interact with chiming in, and every morning you wake up, it's like, here's your suggested friends list, and it's like, like when I get a friend request, the first thing I do, I send the person a private message. I say, how do we know each other? Because here's what I'll tell you that I experience is, hey, this good-looking Slavic gal that now wants to be my friend, the moment I say yes, I'm either being sold auto insurance, I'm being asked to go to some other website to look at some private pictures,
or your Facebook password's being hacked, and they're creating clone accounts.
So again, I think we need to get back to the point of valuing people that matter and understand,
Great point.
I put something online this morning and basically it said, do not participate in any conversations that don't make sense. And I'm dumbing it down, but it's basically like when you like, or when you follow, or when you read it,
or
comment it. Now the algorithm is and there was a fancy word
feeding the algorithm.
It was called cyber algorithm terrorism or something. And I was like, what is this? And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, there's so much clickbait out there right now and it's
that's why there's so many bots out there.
Right.
Like, so many of the times when people get caught up in these arguments, they're fighting with bots.
Right. Well,
literally fighting with computers.
And at least Meta now has gone to a point of saying this is AI generated content. Like I see people all the time,
think something's true. Well, I got a pretty good eye for it. If it's there's a certain distortion that you can see.
Well, it's
at
almost,
least right now.
It's almost it to me. It's
especially
the modern,
if you're looking for it.
It's the modern day equivalent of our generation dealing with somebody in a different country. You knew you were talking to a telemarketer when they couldn't, and I'm terrible in English, I'm just going to say conjugate a sentence properly. So you're like, wait a minute, where are you from? Iowa. So now that absence of genuineness in AI content, but and here's what I'm going to tell the listening public. If you haven't recently watched, go watch Terminator. For everybody, and I
just did.
Hey, Grady, you and I had this conversation, a week ago.
Both of them.
Any single human being that's leaning into AI doesn't understand that shit doesn't end well for us.
Yeah. Well, look what happened with the kid that killed himself. Talking about that this morning. They were talking about that this morning, though. The kid, the AI encouraged him to kill himself,
right?
And was showing him or telling him the best way to do
the best
it.
way.
All that stuff.
ChatGPT psychosis is
that
real.
Is not...
I know several people who are suffering from it right this minute.
And again, like here's the thing: we can all look back and remember. I mean, I remember walking around with a suitcase phone.
Right, me too. I had a bag phone, 1992.
And being like, oh fuck, there's 3 different places that this thing works. So AI is the bag phone of 2025, and in 10 years, and not even that, the evolution of this process is going to be quantum.
Right.
It's actually the Motorola phone. Google search, internet search was the bag phone.
So we're moments away from the elimination of great jobs.
No, we're not. We're not. I'm an IT consultant.
Look at how many people left the tech industry.
In this.
I'm just telling you, I get hundreds of applications every day of people that are being replaced by.
Well, it's because they don't know AI and they refuse to learn it. These people are going to be replaced by people who know AI. The jobs are still there. They're just changing.
We'll agree to disagree. When you have a quantum thinking computer that does the job of tens of thousands of people,
still needs humans to steward the information because it's not correct. Here's the thing that people misunderstand about AI. AI does not know everything. AI is trained on the accumulation of all current human knowledge. Period. End of story. That's facts. That's fiction. That's everything.
And how long does it take to learn that?
However long it takes them to upload it. But the point is, we as the humans have to understand that we are controlling this. Like, we have to drive this. We have to train it. It's not going to just suddenly go rogue.
But that's the whole thing. So check this out, Kel.
See, that's where, Kel, we were speaking in equivocals a moment ago, and then you said not yet.
Well,
I'm not talking about this tomorrow.
The potential is there.
Well, and we're leaning into that potential.
By the time any of this happens, we won't be anywhere near it.
Well, and this, Kel, so check this out. So to the point, the kid that we just alluded to that took his own life. Okay, so he was doing that as he was following advice.
That's a parental problem.
Well, not just that, but you can't just whitewash it like that and say that there was something that was not done as far as the programmers of who's putting this together. that inadvertently led to this kid. I mean, the parenting. I mean, there's all kinds of good parents that have children that take their lives, unfortunately. So again, it's not just a universal
No, that's
thing.
true. I agree.
But my point is that right now, not in the future, right now there are inadequacies that are causing harm.
Oh, of course, but there always have been and there always will be.
Well, and here let's digress for a second beyond end of life. If you ask the average parent of a 16-year-old, let's say, hey, how much sex education are you having the birds and the bees talk with your kid? Guess what? Your kid's been on PornTube and knows more about it than we do. Kel, respectfully, as the father of two, it's easy to go, that's poor parenting.
No, I'm not saying it's poor parenting.
No, I'm just saying it's easy for us to say, hey, Ed failed because he bought an Xbox as a electronic babysitter. It's a little bit more challenging to walk in those shoes and go, okay, guess what? It's unsafe for these kids to go out and play outside. So unless we're doing tiddlywinks, but my point being, we have access. I remember squinting at the fuzziness on the TV at 12 o'clock at night when the Playboy channel was like snowed over, and I was like, "Is that a breast that I see?" Now it's like, hey, do you want to see what swinging from the chandelier looks like?
A kid could grab a phone, go on the site, and just say, "Oh yeah, I'm 18." Push the button, and there you go, bada boom, bada.
So I just think we live in a world of accelerated information. And, and some of that, as we keep circling back to kind of the instant gratification component, I remember when this very building that we sat in, and maybe it still is, but at the end of the hallway was the library.
It's still there.
Perfect. So it used, I knew the Dewey Decimal System. I used to have to seek out credible knowledge, and maybe written knowledge is credible, maybe it's not. That's a different discussion. But for the purposes of this discussion, let's pretend that library books are credible. Well, now we have access to information, and it takes more time to vet the credibility of the information that you're asking for than it does to access the information.
Yeah, even the sources. New York Times is an incredible source. Wall Street Journal is an incredible. So they used to be, you used to count on it because they would do the research, and they were told that you can't put anything out there unless you verify its authenticity and its truth.
So I just, my fear for us as a society, like I can remember when the checkers over here at Rayleigh's believed that self-checkout was going to benefit them. Now you talk to, and because a checker used to be a great job. Now and the good news is, and this is going to substantiate Kel's point, self-checking fails every time. So now you got 4 people working the self-checkout line, but it's only a matter of time before technology advances to the point, especially in this country, guys, we don't make a lot of stuff. It's a like a lot of elimination. When you have to make something with your hands or with your mind, that can't be replaced instantaneously. But we aren't a country of makers. We're a country of consumers, and the consumable goods that we slather after oftentimes are electronic feeds. So I just, boys and girls, for all of your IT needs, see Kel, if you're nervous as a whore in church about the Terminator movie coming to fulfillment, then leaning into it.
That goes back to a fear of the unknown thing.
Sure, 100%.
People who've never even touched AI
Right.
are going, "Oh, we can't do this." And it's not, you're going to hear all kinds of stuff from all sides.
Sure.
Because it's being used as a manipulation tool. Just the idea of it.
Somewhere between your belief,
weaponized.
my belief is the truth.
It's the truth, of course.
And the fear that I have, and I'm going to bring it back real quick, even though I'm not the host. I'm going to bring it back to the topic that as I want to touch on for a second. The fear is that Kel's point, first thing out the gate, was we are desensitized to disease. Which I would agree with. Like, hey, it's not if you get the big C. It's like, hey, is it a cancer that's survivable?
Mhm.
And what I'm fearful of, because I've seen behind the veil of deceit. I have a great friend of mine that's way up the food chain at Merck. And, what people don't understand, we caused the problem. Bush won, right? We talked about this a little bit. Bush won, highlight of the AIDS epidemic. Public outcry. Hey, we know there's drugs out there that help. We got to get them out. Bush came out and said, hey, guys, there's 4 people in a dark room that make up the FDA. Can't do it unless we invite some different folks to dinner. So we felt compelled to empower the food and drug manufacturers to sit around the table and approve the food and drugs that they manufacture. And in the same flippin' time that we did that, they just started allocating a portion of their revenue to ongoing legal battles. So right now, they go, hey, guess what? We know that 2 out of every 7 people that take this are going to get sick and die, and we know we're going to get sued. Just park that money over in the corner in an interest-bearing account so that when it happens, not if, because drugs, the FDA used to be scrupulous organization. Now it's, we got
Just a gatekeeper.
We got drugs for, it's like, you got a dry eye. It's like, okay, fucking splash some water in. Nope, take, side effects.
Cytazocazine.
Yeah, side effects may include, violent bleeding, diarrhea. It's like, shit, I started out with a dry eye. Now my ass is exploding. I'll tell you a personal story. My dad had a very rare form of muscular dystrophy. He had a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful care group, partially based here, partially based at Stanford. I went down, and when I took over his managed care, I said, Dad, you're 47 things. We brought the group together, and there was 3 of the 47 prescriptions that he was taking that were for his. The other 40 plus were to counteract
the side effects.
It's like, this one's going to make him so he can't go to the bathroom, so he's got to take this one. Well, that one's going to lower his potassium, so he's got to take this one.
Right.
And I remember sitting down with this team, and I said, man, is there not a better way? And this is why I'm angry. They said, Ed, we've told your dad the best way to manage this. This is an incurable disease. The best way to manage this is through diet and exercise. Your dad has looked at us and said, listen, I love ice cream sandwiches. Give me the pill to offset my lack of willpower, lack of self-control. And I see that every day. Like I see people come in and they go, man, is there something that you have to help with my back pain? And I, you guys, like, I keep it real. I go, yeah, a treadmill, like
stretching,
like
Pilates.
We are not made to carry 450 pounds, bro. Like, fuck yeah, you hurt because guess what? And it's like, wait a minute,
a lot of stress on your body.
What else you got? Okay. I got something that's probably not going to be your answer because it's going to make you hungry, and that's the last thing that you need. So, this all, in my humblest of opinions, the topic that we're talking so passionately about all comes back to accountability. Like, I could tell you this, I feel fantastic when I eat clean and when I get up in 25,000 steps. Now, I don't feel fantastic on day 1 or day 2, but not unlike the pinch that we're feeling in this country economically. We have to understand that it's going to hurt before it gets better. And we, because we're instant gratification whores,
and have been told that we shouldn't be in pain. We have a right to not be in pain.
Right. And unfortunately, the guys in the white coats are perpetuating the cycle. 10 years ago, I went to my guy. I said, man, my ankle's hurt. I didn't have hurt out of my mouth before an illegible signature had dialed me in for some 800 milligram ibuprofen. I said, Dr. Tim, sure, but let's explore what the cause is. And he's like, Ed, let's just take this for, he goes, here's the thing. Your insurance company's not going to pay for the MRI to see what's really wrong with your ankle until we've done ABCD. And A is you take a 60-day cycle of this. B is, hey, we give you a fucking different 60-day cycle. So pretty soon you're like 6 months in and you're like,
and thousands of dollars.
And poison.
Or
How much
your
poison?
kidney just fell out.
Mhm.
Right.
You know, I've 2 shoulders have been replaced.
Really?
I love plug Hillary Marcarney.
Isn't she the best?
Great.
She's mine too.
Great.
Let me tell you about her. She was trained. She's from Philly.
Oh,
she
yeah.
was trained by Stryker, by the guy who invented Stryker.
So Hill, God love her.
God love her.
She said, Ed, I'm going to give you, you know, I went through about maybe, I don't know, 20 cycles of injections. And finally, she's like, hey, guess what?
You're approved.
It wasn't even about being approved. I was like, you know, I'm busy right now. Give me a shot. I'm going to feel better. And she goes, Ed, you know, 3 years ago when we started down this path of these shots, your shoulder was hammered. Now you don't have a shoulder because your ignorant ass feels better. And then you're out like, well, fuck, I should be swinging from the jungle gym. So, you know, we just have to remind ourselves to be accountable. Like, hey, they can give you something to make you feel like $1 million, but that doesn't mean that the trauma that originally hurt isn't still there.
Here's the thing, though. We are sold so much messaging of you can have it all, you can do it all, you can be it all, you need to be it all, you should be doing this, here's what you can do. And that's true. You can't do it all at once.
95 and still need a boner? Take this pill.
Right. I mean,
doesn't matter if you shouldn't.
It's the fact that America is delusional.
Well,
and they keep us that way. I mean, we have allowed ourselves to become deluded by the message.
Well, and
pick one.
And the other piece of the equation, guys, I hate to keep coming back to this. So many things in this country that we medicate for don't exist in other countries because they don't allow them. It's like, hey, you since I mentioned it, you look and go, hey, why is 95% of the Viagra sold in the U.S.? Because one of the unintended consequences of obesity is your pee-pee don't work.
Yeah, 80% of it is sold in Washington, D.C. Hey, so now you guys, okay, lightning round. Okay, so we're staying on topic here. So you got a 30-second buzzer here. Ed, you go first. Okay, what's one healing practice that anyone can start today for their mind?
Self-talk, positive self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
How do you do that?
I wake up every day and say, I'm going to make today my bitch.
Mm-hmm.
And I am worthy. And I will make a positive impact on those around me through kindness and empathy and compassion. And if you tell yourself it will be, 9 days out of 10, it will be.
Yeah. And the way to get started with that, so many of us.
That was for Ed.
That was for Ed. So many of us.
I'm just teasing.
These like brutal scripts in our heads. Mine used to be like horrendous. Like I couldn't stub my toe and not hear a voice in my head going, you fucking idiot. What the hell is the matter with you? And in order to stop that finally, I did it's pretty much the Louise Hay method. And it feels so stupid at first until it catches on. I look in the mirror. I use my opposite hand to brush my teeth and stare at myself in the mirror in my head saying, I love you, 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 until I'm done brushing my teeth. And it feels ridiculous.
How do you do that with your toothbrush in your mouth, though?
In your head. You do it in your head.
It sounds similar to the way Satan sounded in your joke.
And there's something with that in your neuroplasticity. If you do that, it helps rewire. And it breaks that. It took me 3 days, and that horrendous self-talk.
Self-talk and positive affirmations. Okay, Kel, let's do this one with you. Okay, so what's your preference and why between going to therapy versus journaling?
I'm more of an advocate. See, therapy has its place.
So
my experience.
Yeah, why journal?
Why journaling is because it can get it out and get it on the page. And usually at that point, you're done with it. With therapy, you get stuck talking about it over and over and over and over again. Therapy very rarely does therapy have the end goal of getting you out of therapy. That's why I prefer coaching.
Yeah.
Coaching has an end goal.
Yeah, therapists,
Therapies
want that
you
repeat
want that
customer,
week.
huh?
As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
I had an experience where I was in therapy with a therapist trying to work and I even said to her, I have a problem with therapy because it's so repetitive and there's no goal here. And I was coming out of, I was having issues with my mom, who's long dead, but I was still caught up in some of the crap from her, and was discussing it and was moving away from that. And she tried to hook me back into it. I watched her like try to like finagle me back into that hook. That
You
loop.
hadn't dealt with it enough.
Right.
Yeah. So journaling for Kel.
Yeah.
So that makes sense too. So now, Ed, let's compare, contrast medication and meditation. Question: how can both coexist with a person? What somebody that's, you know what I mean? Like they're programmed, they need these medications or whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
or the opposite. I'm sorry, that they are just totally 100% homeopathic. But they really do need, you know, are they mutually exclusive from each other, or is there
no? So here's my philosophy is you know, Eastern medicine for the things that are within my control, and probably Western medicine for the things beyond my control.
Acute and trauma is what Western medicine is best at.
That's awesome.
To me, it's triage.
That's why they call it integrative medicine.
Yeah, that's a perfect answer.
In a second.
So I like that. So, Kel, what's more toxic, untreated trauma or untreated illness?
You can't compare. It depends. It all depends.
Well, I mean, I am comparing them. So I'm asking you which one's more toxic. I know they're different, but which one's more toxic?
I would say trauma, because trauma causes illness.
That's what I would lean towards too. What do you think, Ed?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's set and setting, and I also think that what we should maybe get back to, as a person that's gone through both, is, I'm trying to figure out how to say this, is making sure that we are not amplifying a mountain into a molehill into a mountain.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, like I'll just tell you this, a lot of kids walking around today, chip on their shoulder because mom wasn't the greatest mom in the world. Guess what? You don't realize what a great mom you have until you're a fucking parent or have enough life experience to where it's like, hey, guess what?
Or see someone who was truly parentally abused.
Yeah, or like, you know, I tell my kids all the time, you have a picture of grandma, who's now since passed, as the greatest person in the world, because she was grandma. When she was trying to sort shit out as mom, she fucking wasn't the greatest person in the world. She was like, hey, I had a 2-martini lunch, and now I'm trying to figure out how to teach a 4-year-old to cook dinner, because and again, we all do the best we can. And so sometimes it's understanding that life experiences, both positive and negative, don't have to be traumatic. It's just life. And again,
that's the thing.
There's Uncle Creepy that's different than regular life happening. So I'm not here saying that if some shit happens to you that it's just life. I'm just here saying, hey guys, things today. Somebody cut me off on the road and I need to go to therapy. Fuck, just move on.
You can let it go.
I like it. Kel, last one. So how does a person know when healing has begun? When they're making headway,
because things get things get worse. It doesn't feel like you're healing. Things get really chaotic.
It gets worse before it gets better.
It gets worse before it gets better, and that's how you know that you're healing, because you're moving energy. You're shaking things up in your field that are then causing rifts in other people's fields that are causing blowback.
So I use an analogy every day, and some people love it, some people hate it. All growth, all healing is just like the gym. Nobody goes in on day one feeling as they want to, and it hurts before it gets better.
Yep, that's a great analogy.
The key is sticking to it until the hurt gives way to positive.
Work the pain.
And this is where I advocate working with somebody, because I did it all by myself, and it was hard, because I didn't know what was going on. To me, it's helpful if you can be with somebody who can explain to you as stuff comes up, this is what's happening. This is what's happening. This is the stage you're in. This is what's happening. You can't necessarily predict for them how it's going to go, but when the things actually happen, you can pinpoint where they are in their journey and help them understand that this is all part of the process, and don't give up because it feels so bad, or you think you're failing because you're not moving fast enough, or this, that, or the other. It's just not true. This takes time. We have muscle memory, we have neuropeptides stuck in our cells. It takes a lot, and it takes somatics. It takes physical movement to get this crap out.
For sure. Active, stay active.
Now, you don't have to go to the gym and deadlift 250 pounds a day, but
Well, the other thing is what, again, we keep coming back to, guys, is all of this hinges upon, stopping the importation of, whether it be psychological poison, whether it be caloric poison, whether it be environmental or situational poison, because, like I had a 30+ year stint of alcohol abstinence. And that was only possible because I quit drinking.
That's the key.
My healing was only possible because I removed myself from the situations where and guys, I'm going to tell you something a lot of people don't agree with me on. To Kel's earlier point, I used the program, and I'm not going to out it, but I used the program to get me abstinent. And I remember telling the guy that was looking out for me, I said, hey, I didn't quit drinking so I could spend 30 hours a week in these meetings. And I really didn't quit drinking so that every time somebody wanted to hear the highlight reel, right? Because I had some sexy shit like, hey, you ever drank a bottle of whiskey and ended up in a different country with no shoes and somebody else's passport?
Whoa.
I have.
Yeah.
But when it's like, Ed, you haven't shared in a while. It's like, okay, back in 1986 when I, sometimes continuously rehab.
Same thing as therapy. You're
like,
going over and over your mistakes.
Like I am abstinent so that I can start living, not so that I can
beat
relive
myself
the
up,
past.
right?
But again, we have to, like, hey, if you want to get skinny, maybe do a push away from the table. Don't stop at Burger King, because it's tough to continue the cycle of mental, physical, psychological poisoning.
No, Ed, I think what you're doing here, my friend, is again, so today's show is what's
the matter.
What's the matter with healing body, mind, and soul? So what you just, I think, are alluding to is, again, our last little frontier here is that's to talk about the healing of the soul, right? Am I off?
No, I think,
yeah.
And Grady, I'm gonna tell you this. It is short-sighted to think that this isn't a three-legged stool. Without the mind being healed, the body and the soul aren't going to heal. Without the soul forgiving yourself for the sins of your past, the body, you're going to continue to perpetuate the cycle.
You go.
So, you look at it and go, hey guys, if you're not taking, and here, I'll just tell you this, I had a rough day today.
Yeah.
And I had a rough day because of my actions. I am accountable for the current situation that I live in. And if I don't take the time to address the physical, the mental, and the spiritual, or the soul component to it, I won't get better.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to say thank you for fighting through that and showing up. We would have understood, certainly. And so you're here though. So let's talk about that. So these soul wounds and sometimes generational pain, what does it mean to heal spiritually, separate from your mind and your body that we've talked about already?
For me, that comes down to one word: forgiveness. And
sometimes it's yourself, sometimes it's others.
Most of the time, it's giving yourself permission. It's like, hey, guess what? I'm no longer in a relationship because I didn't do the right thing.
Right.
Well, if I never forgive myself for that, then I will never move beyond this place of discomfort. And understanding, again, the analogy that I gave earlier, like, hey, my two children, we as a father of a 29 and a 30-year-old, that raised them largely by myself. Every effing thing that goes wrong in their life is a result of dad. And now they're finally old enough to realize that, guess what? At 4 and 5 years old, when dad became a single parent, the instruction book wasn't quite done, and he did the best flawed job that he could. And that's by no means saying that I didn't intentionally, like, hey, I signed up to be the earner. I didn't sign up to be the earner, the caregiver, the blah, blah. You know, I remember taking my daughter to school, and the teacher goes, how about this? We'll sort out the hairdo every day, because you are whatever the fuck this type of braid work that you're doing on your daughter, like, we don't want her made fun of. But I said, hey, and they were so empathetic. They're like, we know you're doing the best you can.
How cool. That was very nice.
You know, the point being is that nobody's perfect, and we have to learn to acknowledge that progress, not perfection, is the path to enlightenment.
Well, and speaking of schools, let's you know, kind of wrap around culture around all that. So how does Western culture, how and why does Western culture under prioritize the spiritual component of our health? Because everybody, I think, gets so wrapped up in the dogma of religion, right? And there's a difference between religion and spirituality. And so how does our Western culture miss that boat that the Eastern cultures seem to grasp?
Kel is much more adept at this than I, but what I'm going to tell you is as somebody that's had the pleasure of being all over this beautiful blue marble, we move at such a frantic pace
as compared to others.
Every place, like here's the reality.
Love Costa Rica.
I love the way that I feel at a yoga class.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go as frequently as I would love to, because I can't slow down long enough to provide myself with that opportunity for enlightenment or stretching or whatever.
Meditation.
Yeah, it's like I'll just tell you this, because I don't sleep well, even on soul berry coconut gummies. I try to do an evening meditation every night before I go to bed to calm myself.
Yeah.
And what I find myself hunting for, because I do a YouTube guided meditation, is
I want to get more into Buddhism.
I
agree.
No.
I don't know you necessarily want to get more into Buddhism.
No, just some of the
maybe
tenets,
Buddhist practices.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, the practice.
But so like here's the best way that I'll articulate my problem. I'm like, let me find the remote so that I can push double speed to get through my meditative practice that's supposed to be slowing me down.
Yeah, just so you can give yourself credit for it. I off the list.
I love people that are trying to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
I chuckle at people. It's like, bro, did you take more selfies in the gym than you did reps? Like, I don't give a fuck if you're at the gym.
When did that start? Who started that shit?
Somebody looks a lot better than me. I'll just tell you that. So again, but it comes back to accountability. Like, if I hold myself accountability, this morning I got up 2:30, rough night, didn't sleep. Said, you know what? The best thing I can do is go get on a treadmill. And I could not for the life of me get beyond the situation that I was living in to grant myself the grace to just walk on the treadmill for 45 minutes because I couldn't shut down the mechanism. I forget the name of the movie, but the pitcher, his deal was clear the mechanism, and then he threw a perfect strike, and getting that calm.
It's like Kevin Costner movie.
Yeah, whatever, and again, getting that calm clarity.
Field of Dreams?
Nah, it was a different one. It was like Fever Pitch, something. I don't know what it was, but anyways, it's like, hey, the American dream is a financial dream in many instances, and the financial dream has never needed more attention than it does today. So it's like, hey, the 8-hour days, a 9-hour days, a 12-hour day, a 14-hour day.
Right.
And at the end of the day, you're like, well, fuck, I'm too tired to have any self-care. Let me throw back a vodka Collins, because that's going to help me sleep, or let me
knock this thing out.
Right.
Let me make my meat suit unconscious.
Exactly. Or
because I cannot shut my own brain down.
And then it's like, hey, let me take the poke of Ozempic or whatever it is, and it's like, hey, because I can't carve out time to go to the gym, and that's why the mental, physical, and spiritual health of this country is in decline. Because again, like I've checked my phone 72 times in the 90 minutes that we've been here because unfortunately I am here, but not as present as I should be. I haven't given myself permission to take 90 minutes out of the 360 days a year that I work to come support two of my friends and to talk about something that I'm passionate about. And do it without guilt of, well, fuck, I wonder how many things I could have accomplished, or I wonder how many times I could have checked a post or this or that. I mean, the average person, I think, spending over 90 minutes a day on some platform instead of, and it's like, well, it's my guilty pleasure, or it's death scrolling, or, there's all these different names for what it is. And it's like, guys, put that son of a bitch down and go for a walk. Put that son of a bitch.
Your body won't let you.
Right.
It's not you. You want to.
Right.
I want to walk. I don't want to touch this thing. I don't want to see it. I want to walk away from it. And your body reaches out for that dopamine.
Right. 100. I mean, it is tougher. My eldest was 6 when I separated, and a babysitter became Xbox. And when I witnessed the heroin-esque withdrawals of abstinence from that dopamine stimulating device, I go, man, I shat the bed when I introduced this. And I see babies that, they probably work the iPhone better than I could, because we're not only too busy for self-care, but we're too busy to take care of the kids that we bring into this beautiful, beautiful experiment. So we hand them a device.
Oh, it's tough.
Sucks.
A lot of things, and a lot of it is too, how many of us, I never got married or had kids, but how many of us did this long before this world was in the condition it was in, and had completely different plans? And we're headed towards those plans as a way things were, or should be, we're going to be, we needed to be. And then all of a fucking sudden, the entire world shifts upside down overnight on us.
Right. Well, and again, we went through a interesting experiment that forced us inside. It mainlined media, and as a result of that, I'm strung out. Well, here's the unfortunate piece. Not only am I strung out on useless online bullshit, but as a business owner, I'm strung out on, well, fuck, I better answer my Google reviews, otherwise somebody's going to cancel me. We live in a day and age where, for no fault of your own, hey, by the way, somebody in a different country starts out attacking you online, and pretty soon it's like, well, I guess that $10 million I invested in the business is on fire because, beyond my control, somebody has decided to cancel me. Most of the time, again, knock wood, have not been canceled yet till tomorrow. They're not canceling you for failing to provide the services or goods that you tried to transact. They're canceling you because their feelings don't align with your, heaven forbid you say something like Charlie did that begs the question. Well, fuck, if that question is something that you're uncomfortable being asked or uncomfortable answering, the easiest thing is to dismiss that person, and it's never been easier. What do we got? Taylor Swift has, 7 billion followers, and it's like, heaven forbid she sends out a message that might be questionable.
Right, too much power concentrated into.
She couldn't even show her face after the Chiefs started 0-2. So let's had to throw a little football barb in there.
They started 0-2.
So let me ask you, Ed, do you think that all pharmacies should carry, I think I know the answer on this, do you think all pharmacies should carry CBD products?
No.
Because that's kind of like your niche,
no,
right?
Here's what I'll tell you. Here's my fear.
Okay.
Nobody doubles down on CBD the way I double down. Everybody should be on CBD. My fear is that, the government currently owns the patent for marijuana. More specifically,
that's crazy.
More specifically for THC.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons why we do what we do differently or better than other people is because I keep all of our products, what I tell, as close to the plant as possible.
Mm-hmm.
We extract it in and of its entirety, and we put it back in and of its entirety. Other companies just take the THC And then, we're seeing cannabis-related illnesses that we never had before because they don't have the buffering agent of the rest of the plant.
Yeah.
So my fear is targeted, non-naturally occurring CBD. We're going to synthesize, and the magic is going to somehow dissipate.
Go away, yeah.
Big time.
And so again, do I think that we should be having dialogue? Hell yeah. Do I think that doctors should be saying, guess what? You can take an 800 milligram ibuprofen, or you can go see Ed and he'll give you 50 milligrams of CBD.
Yeah.
But I think that we need to get back to more of a medicine man mentality than a pharmacist mentality.
You're going right along the trail here. Have you seen my notes? So another question is, do you think, we've talked about this a little bit, do you think that psychedelics should be legal for healing purposes nationwide?
Caveat. Yes.
Okay.
The caveat is this. So many people out there, I'm a psychonaut. So if whether a piece of paper on my tongue, some not greatest tasting fungus in the world, ayahuasca, peyote, you name it, I love it. But I'm mindful of what we call in psychedelic therapy of set and setting. When I go to an event with 50,000 people, I'm looking for a recreational experience.
Yeah.
When I'm looking to heal childhood trauma or drama, I am in the right set and setting. And
you want to be more immersive.
Well, I want to make sure that oftentimes, the reason why the medicine men of let's say the Amazon go through this spiritual component of an ayahuasca ceremony is so that there's a tour guide to help you sort shit out. Because guess what? When you peel the scab and it comes to the surface in a vivid, scary way, you better have somebody telling you, you know what, that psychological dragon that you just unleashed isn't necessarily real, and I'm going to help you navigate how to interpret it. And so, my fear, like I have people come in every day. Hey, when
so have you worked with a shaman before, for example?
I have. I've like I said, if it can be ingested, I raise my hand.
And so talk about real quick the importance of having a shaman versus experimenting with your friends or by yourself or whatever.
So what I would strongly suggest is if life isn't as blissful as it can be, opening the gateway sometimes isn't the right thing to do because you're ill-equipped.
You're in a negative state of mind.
Well, and here's the reality. I love car movies. That doesn't mean I open the fucking hood and start working on the engine. Just because something is accessible doesn't mean that it should be utilized. And so like when people come into the dispensary, they go, Ed, why don't you think this is the setting? And I said, because there's so much good that can happen. I'm gonna, mushrooms is the number one thing that people are talking about right now. Hey, who, what, when, and where? And it's tough to overdo, but it's not tough to have a scary experience.
For sure.
And especially, people inherently don't like to raise their hand and ask for help.
Because if you do too much of those, what are you just going to expel them? You typically just get sick.
Yeah, I mean, it's a toxic experience. I mean,
has anybody ever OD'd from psilocybin?
I mean, I think an OD on psilocybin would probably look like a very,
like an accident, like stepped off of something.
Well, I mean, guaranteed. I mean, there's things like when I'm playing, it's like, hey guys, guess what? We're not going swimming. We're not doing activities where we go, well, fuck, I can breathe underwater. But my point being is that before we recreate, oftentimes we need to heal.
Yeah.
And if we haven't healed, it's one of the reasons that I no longer choose to do LSD. It is a much stronger drug, underregulated, than somebody should be ingesting. And there's a ton of new research that just came out to talk about LSD and things like Alzheimer's. So there is a place in the toolbox for psychedelics, but they need to be administered in a totally different way than we're accustomed to in this country. They're again, difference between a pharmacy and a medicine man.
Yeah. Well, just kind of like wrapping things up here. Of course, Soul is Better Dispensary, 275 Old Highway 395 in Washoe City, Nevada. Phone number 775-451-7290. And you can find them at soulisbetter.com. That is SOLISBETTER.com. And so last question for you here, Ed. What's next for Soul is Better and your mission to normalize plant-based care?
You know, we spend a lot of time advocating for fair, safe access. We hope that we see some government intervention that allows for some tax code changes, because the biggest, the one of the prohibiting factors right now to cannabis as a daily medicine for many people is we are as addicted to the copay model of pharma, milking insurance for our meds. And unfortunately, when you tell somebody, hey, it's $100 a week or whatever the number is for to use this plant-based medicine, then they go, Ed, it's $5 a month for me to use the ibuprofen. What do we, this doesn't make financial sense.
Yeah.
And
that's real.
Oh, it's crazy real.
Yeah.
I look at people that are consuming, lots of product in an effort to stay off, opiates. And, so for us, it's like, hey, if you're fighting the good fight, whether it's cancer, whether it's, fill in the blank, we have some programs down there where it's like, hey, we're selling it to you at cost because we make money off 22-year-olds that want to get high, not 90-year-olds that want to deal with cancer.
Right.
But, we just continue coming on things like this, having the dialogue. I'm shaking hands and kissing babies, trying to let people know, hey guys, this isn't what you believe it to be in many instances, because knowledge and education is ultimately the way that we change the trajectory of marijuana.
And particularly self-knowledge and self-education, not just believing what people tell you or, taking one source of information. I mean, you can find anything out there that will justify whatever your point of view is. You will find something to support it.
Lots of some things. If you want your position substantiated, the algorithm is waiting for you. The challenge is, hey, let's go out and actually have some cognitive free thinking. And so again, if you need information, if you want to chat about it, I'm there, unfortunately, most days from 10 a.m. till 7 p.m. Love to have dialogue, love to help people live the best version of their life. But ultimately, guys, what I'll tell you is this: there's not a golden arrow to solving your problems. I mean, cannabis is typically just one aspect of a multi-pronged approach to living your best life. And sometimes we have to understand that it's going to be uncomfortable before we feel better.
And things like cannabis or whatever relief we're looking for are additives. And a lot of times you need to subtract things from your life.
Here's the philosophy that I share with people. Marijuana should aid in the experience of life, not
take it
the experience of life. And if life is so unmanageable that booze, weed, whatever it is, when it becomes the driving factor, check yourself.
Yeah, it's just like anything else. Too much of anything is not always good, right? So, man, just like that. We've reached the end of another journey together, and what's
Full
the
2
matter?
hours today.
Yeah, huge
We
thanks.
could probably go for another 2.
Yeah, thanks to Ed from Soul Cannabis for bringing the good vibes and real talk about healing. So mind, body, and soul. You can find his amazing complex, again, at 275 Old Highway 395 in Washoe City, Nevada, 775-451-7290, soulisbetter.com. Whether you're stretching, journaling, lighting sage, lighting something maybe a little bit greener. Healing isn't all linear, but it is possible. So as always, What's the Matter podcast show, produced by Big Bongo Productions and powered by the good folks over at World Matters Incorporated. So catch us live just like this every Wednesday at 4:00 p.m. on Podbean, or catch a replay wherever you stream your sanity, all right? So next week, Kel, we're going to be diving headfirst into the ER with episode 21 with What's the Matter with American Healthcare? A little spin off of this, but we're going to do another.
Be easy.
Yeah, we're going to be getting together with Dr. Tom Waldorf But from overpriced pills to broken systems, Band-Aid fixes, we're asking the tough questions about Big Pharma next week. And so we really treat the human condition in the land of the free and the copay. Until then, stay curious, stay grounded. Remember, healing isn't just about getting better. It's about becoming whole. Peace, love, podcast vibes. I'm the G-Man for Kel and Ed. Have a great week. See ya.